For years, I watched in silent agony as my wife, Karen, wove a tapestry of betrayal, each thread spun from deception and infidelity. Her affair had not been a fleeting lapse in judgment, but a long and deliberate entanglement, casting shadows over the life we had built together. Our home, once a sanctuary, had become a stage for pretense, where love had soured into something bitter and unrecognizable. When I confronted her, searching for some flicker of remorse, I found only cruel amusement in her eyes. A sly smile curled her lips as she uttered words that sliced through me like a blade. "You've always been far too naive, James," she mused, her voice laced with icy detachment. "Perhaps this moment will finally make a man of you." The sting of her betrayal was only the beginning. When I sought legal counsel, I was met with a truth even more devastating. Under the merciless statutes of our state, Karen stood poised to take half of everything I had worked for. My earnings, our home, and a generous alimony. Even Rusty, our loyal dog, was not beyond her grasp. The thought of losing it all, of walking away with nothing while she thrived, was suffocating. Despair threatened to consume me, but in its place, something else took root, a cold, calculating resolve. I had spent my life as the kind and trusting husband, the man who always played fair. That man was gone. If Karen wished to play this game without honor, then I would match her move for move. I began my work in silence, my actions veiled in careful discretion. By all appearances, I was the same devoted husband, willing to forgive, to reconcile. But behind that facade, I was setting the pieces in place for the ultimate reckoning. Karen had never cared for the intricacies of my profession. She barely understood the business I had built from the ground up, a modest yet thriving software enterprise. That ignorance became my greatest advantage. I reached out to an old friend from college, Dave, and offered him a role as a silent partner. Over time, I transferred the bulk of my shares to him, leaving me with only the title of an employee and a modest salary. But hidden beneath the surface was a legally binding agreement. When the dust settled, my shares would return to me for a pittance. Meanwhile, I turned my attention to our home, the place Karen cherished so deeply. It was the crown jewel of her social life, the setting for her book club gatherings where she preened under the admiration of her friends. I feigned interest in renovations, pouring money into improvements, on paper at least. I inflated payments to contractors, ensuring the work was subpar while driving up the house's recorded value. What should have been an investment became a financial burden in disguise. And then there was Brad. I recognized him the moment I saw him, a real estate agent who flaunted his wealth with a peacock's pride. He was all flash and no substance, a man who measured his worth in luxury cars and designer suits. As Karen and Brad grew bolder in their affair, parading their relationship in public, I played the role of the heartbroken but devoted husband, weaving the illusion of possible reconciliation. Behind closed doors, I enlisted a private investigator. Every rendezvous, every lavish gift Brad showered upon her, was meticulously documented. Their careless extravagance led them to dip into our marital funds, an act that would later become their undoing. Time moved forward with relentless precision, each passing day drawing me closer to the moment I had so carefully orchestrated. Then, on what should have been a night of celebration, our anniversary, I set my final act into motion. With the evidence gathered, I filed for divorce. Karen arrived at the mediation with her usual air of smug confidence, certain she would walk away victorious. But as my lawyer laid out the meticulously gathered evidence, that confidence cracked, giving way to disbelief. Every infidelity, every stolen dollar, every deceitful whisper had been laid bare. The prenuptial agreement she had long forgotten suddenly reared its head, a blade sharpened by her own actions. Her blatant misuse of our joint finances rendered her claims for alimony nearly worthless. The once prized home, its value inflated yet structurally flawed, became a poisoned chalice. And the company she believed she could claim a part of? It was never truly mine to give, not on paper. When the final decree was signed, Karen walked away with little more than a crumbling house and a bitter realization. The life she had envisioned with Brad began to unravel within a year, crushed under the weight of financial strain and fading infatuation. But for me, there was no grand triumph, no exultant victory. There was only freedom, a quiet, profound liberation from the chains of a past that no longer held me. I sold the house, leaving it to be reshaped by a developer's vision, and sought solace in a lakeside cabin, where Rusty and I could finally breathe. It was there, in the serenity of autumn's embrace, that I met Emily. She was nothing like Karen. She carried an intelligence that shone in every conversation, a kindness that wrapped around those near her like a warm embrace. Her laughter, light, genuine, unburdened, was unlike anything I had heard in years. For the first time, happiness did not stem from victory or revenge. It came from release, from the simple, beautiful promise of a future unchained from the past.